Hey User World, I am back with another video. I want to have a conversation in regards to dupes, and if you are not new to my channel, you know I talk about luxury alternatives quite often, which is kind of different from the topic of dupes, and we are surrounded by dupe culture just because the big luxury brands are just outrageously priced, and we are all looking for a good quality bag that will satisfy that want and need in our handbag collection. Not that any handbag is a need, but we are looking to purchase from indie brands quite a bit as well. And I think there is a distinct difference between luxury alternative versus dupe. I was watching Deb from Wild Unfiltered, and I thought her conversation and her points were incredibly interesting. So I want to kind of jump in on that conversation. Not that she tagged me or anything, but hi Deb, love your channel, big fan, and kind of just give you my opinion and perspective. Love to hear from you as we're watching the video, so definitely drop a comment down below. Let's just get right into it. If you haven't seen Deb's video in regards to dupes, I'll make sure to tag her and link her original video down below. But her premise of the entire conversation is talking about the almost bag. And the almost bags consist of a lot of dupes that she purchased throughout the years to scratch that itch. And you know, we get incredibly itchy when we have an eye or our heart is set on a particular bag. I personally am a luxury lover, but I also love indie brands. I love going out to the universe of all of the mom and pop shops to discover new designs, whether they're similar in certain aspects of the bag or not. But like many of you, I started in the contemporary world with Kate Spade, Coach, which I no longer participate in. And then I slowly moved into Louis Vuitton, Saint Laurent, Valentino, and then up now I've gone over to the Chanel and the Hermes, which I've calmed down on the Chanel part, but then the Hermes, I'm still kind of rampaging through that. But I also have shifted my appreciation to luxury alternatives. I feel like the words dupe and luxury alternative are used very interchangeably nowadays. However, if you look up the definition of dupe, it means to deceive or trick in terms of a verb. Not that I'm an English major, I'm not educating. I mean, you can look it up. But anyways, you also use it as a noun, which is a victim of deception. Very, very negative connotation if you really think about it. But now that word has evolved, as most languages do evolve, to turn into, at least in the handbag community, how it is a similar kind of bag to what the OG is. And fun fact, this part I totally did not know. It is the word dupe is of French origin, which I found really interesting. I recently did a video on the Loewe Puzzle Bag. This is the OG, right? And these two bags are considered dupes. Now, I would say the Quince bag is definitely a direct dupe of the OG bag from Loewe. Now, when it comes to the horse, everybody started calling it the Loewe Puzzle Dupe because of the slouchy nature right here and, of course, the silhouette. However, when I purchased this back in early spring of last year, that was not what I had in mind. But then when I start seeing it online and people calling it the Puzzle Dupe, I kind of jump on board and was just like, oh, okay, I guess I see that, the resemblance of it. But that's not the first thing that came to my mind when I saw the horse bag, the Clementine horse bag. In my opinion, this is what I would categorize as a luxury alternative. Now, when a new design comes out, we always think that the big luxury are the innovators. And yes, they are. The Louis Vuittons, the Guccis, they are innovators. But we all have heard stories, and of course the big luxury brands, they all just end up copying each other anyways to a certain extent. There are stories where big luxury brands have copied the smaller indie brands, and of course the indie brands, the no-namers, the mom and pop shops have no ability to fight back. Now I'm getting a little bit off topic. The reason why most people are calling dupes because they're usually comparing it to the big luxury brands. I am open to buying dupes for various reasons. Now, using the Loewe Puzzle Bag as an example, this bag, I never had an urge to buy the Loewe Puzzle Bag just because of the opening. Now, did that prompt me to go look for alternatives? No, and it's the same thing with any other bag out there where the dupe culture has gotten a little crazy if you think about it, where if there is a popular bag, you see a whole slew of dupes that are out there from various brands. Now, I'm not talking about replicas, very similar to Deb. I am not talking about replicas. That's a whole different conversation. I would purchase a Quince dupe bag because this is clearly a dupe bag. I wouldn't consider this a luxury alternative. I'll kind of like, it can kind of touch, like if I got a Venn diagram going, this could be in the luxury alternative as well as the dupe, kind of, you know, intermediate, if you see what I mean. But for me, I think the quality of the Clementine is much better. So I would call this a luxury alternative. And this one would be considered a dupe in my opinion. I've seen a lot of comments when I do release these luxury alternatives, or if I call them dupes, some of you are completely against it. You'd rather go buy the actual luxury or the OG kind of bag that everybody's lusting after. Whereas the other half of you are completely on board with dupes. Most of the time, if I were to buy dupes, I would say it's not a yes or no. It's kind of a gray area, right? If the Loewe puzzle is not satisfying my criterias of a functional bag or a desirable bag, then yeah, I'll start looking if anything pops up. I won't actively go out and look for a dupe, because to me, it's not about just the luxury or the brand itself. It's about functionality and the design. I am completely okay with buying a dupe, for example, the Quince bag, if they took the OG design and enhance all of the things that I had a gripe with, so to speak. To use a very everyday example to compare and contrast, yes, they are not the same dollar amount, but if you look at the grocery store, if you go to the grocery store, there are some people who would never buy the dupes. For example, Heinz ketchup, right? Some people are just like, I have to get the Heinz ketchup. It tastes different, it looks different, the packaging is different, versus, hey, would you buy the grocery brand like Kroger or the Walmart brand of the same ketchup? Chances are they're probably produced in the same manufacturer, warehouse, whatever you want to call them. They're probably the same ketchup. So if you have that kind of mentality, are you okay with purchasing the ketchup brand from the grocery store that probably costs half the price, if not more? On the other spectrum, I actually had this conversation with my boyfriend, kind of just pointed questions, because he's also into luxury items, just a completely different spectrum of it, where I asked him like, hey, back in the day when I had my head dead set on getting a Porsche Macan, but then he was just like, why would you get the Macan? You should just get the Audi SQ5. Now, I don't know if this resonates with any of you, because not all of us are into cars, but he was just like, it's the same chassis, it is the same car, they've got the same mechanicalism. It just has a Porsche logo on there versus the Audi logo on there. Honestly, with the SQ5, you can actually do more customization with it. There's a lot more different options, and prices are 2/3 of what a Porsche Macan would cost. And of course, me back in the day, I'm just like, no, I want a Porsche Macan, okay? Because it's got the Porsche logo. And he just looks at me, he's like, why? What is wrong with you? But nowadays, it's just like, I kind of don't even care to buy the Porsche Macan anymore. Another example would be Rolex versus Tudor. So I know, again, we're not a watch community. I'm starting to dabble and understand a little bit more. And I know this information by osmosis, because I have to hear about him yap about this Tudor versus this Rolex, yada, yada. He gave me a whole entire history lesson, even though I didn't even ask for it. The original Tudor was created also by the same guy who created Rolex. And basically what they have done is take all of the same items, all of the same components, except for the dial and the movement, and then they charge half the price. Now, Tudor in the 90s started making their own straps and their own cases, but they were still manufactured in the Rolex kind of warehouse facilities, whatever you call it. In 2015, Tudor finally broke away and started their own facilities and then pretty much treat them as separate entities. However, it is still under the parent company of Rolex. Now, most people would say Rolex is better because it's the OG, and Tudor back in the day is very obviously a dupe of Rolex and charged half the price. So how do you feel about that? Now, obviously they have evolved into their own kind of little brother, which again is much cheaper than Rolex is nowadays and easier to get, so to speak. So that's another comparison. So how would you think of dupes or luxury alternatives for half the price? I do want to touch on points that I do agree with Deb and points that I kind of don't agree with Deb from Wild Unfiltered. Before I do so, if you are new here and you are are enjoying this conversation, do hit that like and subscribe and jump in the comments down below. Let me know you are new to my channel so I can welcome you and say hi to you. If you are returning, I'm glad you're here. You know what to do. I rely on you every single time I upload a video so that this kind of conversation, an honest conversation, can reach a bigger audience so that we can build our community together. So points that I do agree with Deb. Yes, absolutely do not get that almost bag. Do not spend money frivolously on the kind of like dupe or something that is close to it because it's never going to scratch that itch. In my opinion, you should buy it for the right reasons because you love the bag, you love the design of the bag, perhaps you love the history of the fashion house. Don't get it because everybody else is wearing it and it's the it bag. I also never buy a dupe because I want to try out the silhouette and before I plunge headfirst into spending a shit ton of money. If I want the bag, I'm gonna buy it. I'm not gonna look for the alternative and just be like, oh, I'm so glad I figured out that I don't like the silhouette. Maybe when you're newer to the handbag kind of world, please don't get into it. It's so expensive. But if you're getting into it, just buy the bag. And I'll follow up with why I say that. And especially now, because there will be price increases. Now, YSL had a price decrease. I had a whole entire video where I talked about the prices of Saint Laurent before they made an official announcement. I guess, did they make an official announcement? I think they just announced that price will be decreasing on their iconic bags. That is so rare in the luxury world. And we know, based on logic, that a lot of these companies rather sell fewer bags and make a higher margin. Yes, there is an obscene markup on these luxury houses, but to give them credit, they've built their empire from a long time ago. The history that comes with it, the connotation that comes with it, everything else, that's again another conversation for a different day. But when it comes to price decreases, how often does that happen? And of course, there is always an option of buying pre-loved. If it's your dream bag, I highly encourage you to look at the secondary market. Even if you can save 20, 30, 15% off of the retail price, that is one way to maximize the value of the bag that you're spending your money on. But if you don't want to pay close to retail or even at retail and go the pre-loved route, you're going to have to wait, and patience is everything, because if you truly love a bag, you should totally wait for the pre-love market or maybe when there's sales going on, and you're not just kind of like, I want it because it is the it bag right now. That is the wrong decision, in my opinion, to buy a bag, because once that trend dies down, you're going to be like, I don't know why I bought this bag in the first place. A second point you also have to think about when it comes to the pre-love markets is that if it's a popular bag and the prices are increasing year over year, the retail price or the secondary price is also going to increase. Not by a whole lot. You'll still get a discount from the current retail price, but it will also increase based on the retail price of that luxury house. Now, when it comes to points that I don't agree with Deb about, and we are all able to have our own opinions and still be friends, can we be friends, Deb? You can still be a luxury lover. Her topic, her video was talking about if you are a true luxury lover. I consider myself a luxury lover, but not all luxury lovers need to come from the big fashion houses like Louis Vuitton, Gucci, Saint Laurent, Celine, whatever it is. The luxury is subjective, and we all know that. Just because of the price point definitely can dictate it is quote unquote luxury, but we all know that just because it's high dollar amounts or high retail prices, it's not always luxury. We know that, and we saw that with Chanel, right? Another point that she did make is that if you buy a dupe, you end up not liking it anymore, or you actually made the plunge to buy that designer bag anyways, it's gonna get pushed in the back of your closet. I don't agree, because if you get a dupe and you don't like it, and the real thing could be a little bit different, yes, the stitching or the leather quality may not be the same, or the functionality may not be the same, but there's still similarities so that you can get a sense if you like it or not. I'm not sure where I was going with this, but I feel like I kind of disagree with her saying that if you buy the dupe, you may not like it, you also can't sell it, you'll just kind of leave it in your closet in the back untouched, which is, not true. You can either sell it or you can give it to a friend or family member. It can be reused, so to speak, or, you know, give it a second life. Or perhaps you can use it as your rainy day bag. And let's wrap things up with kind of a side-by-side comparison. Now, I did do a whole entire video on designer looks for less. In my opinion, those are considered luxury alternatives. Some of them are dupes, and some of them can kind of touch in both categories. However, I think if I didn't have the original thing, would I still purchase the luxury alternative? I would say yes. So let's start off with my Celine Belt Bag versus the Atelier Auguste Marley. Now, I love this bag. I've used this quite a bit and it just still looks pristine. And this is old Celine, Phoebe Philo days, right? If I didn't have this bag and I saw this one first, I honestly would be inclined to purchase this one over this one just because, and I've said this before, people's biggest complaint is the opening, right? Where it's a little hook enclosure where you have to pull the flap down and then, see, I'm having an issue with this, open it and then get into your bag. Whereas this one is, to me, an updated version, an improved version, kind of like Celine Belt Bag 2.0, where it's got the magnets, it's super easy to access your bag. Whereas this one, it's got the little strap there and the strap is not adjustable, whereas this Atelier Auguste, the strap is adjustable. So there's a lot more flexibility and more functionality. Additionally, this is higher quality in my opinion, where they've got the 24 karat gold hardware, or at least plating hardware. So there is a difference, and I love the mock lizard print as well. This one has feet, and the only thing I would say is that I wish this one had a back pocket, because the Celine Belt Bag does have a back pocket, which I can fit my phone in there. However, this one does not have feet, right? So obviously this one is going to be the OG, and if you appreciate the history of Celine, obviously buy this one over this one. But if you're looking at it more objectively, this is actually a better bang for your buck, and it is a fraction of the cost of the Celine bag. Now, when it comes to the beloved Louis Vuitton Pochette Métis, this is an iconic bag to Louis Vuitton. You buy it because you love Louis Vuitton, you love the history. But if you're looking for a luxury alternative, honestly, like, I do love how hard wearing this is. It's canvas, you don't have to worry about, you know, getting rained on, as opposed to the dress up your purse, which is clearly, in this case, it steps in the whole dupe world because of the silhouette and the design of it, obviously. But I prefer leather. I prefer leather bags. Now, this is also at a price point where I'm not afraid of using this in the rain because, yes, it's leather, but it's like 250 bucks, let's just say. And I don't care if it gets wet. So if you look at this, equivalent-wise, functionality, do you see what I'm saying? So when it comes to looking at this objectively, you end up purchasing the Louis Vuitton because you love Louis Vuitton, and there's nothing wrong with that. So if you want the functionality and you want leather and fantastic quality, you would just go buy the dupe. Whereas this one, you buy it because it's Louis Vuitton. Now, talking about the Balenciaga Rodeo bag, this one's from Amazon. I consciously made a move to purchase the dupe because we don't want to give money to Balenciaga after all the boo-boos they've made. So I proactively searched. Yeah, this is probably the only exception where I went out and proactively searched for a dupe when it comes to the design, because I love the design. This is a fantastic brand or bag because of the functionality of in the design. And then you can keep going. I just feel like we're going down a rabbit hole where people are saying this is a Kelly dupe. I don't see that. I don't agree with that. This is not a Kelly dupe. It's so much more slouchier. The handle is much longer and there are packed pockets. Honestly, this is a much more functional bag than the Kelly, which I have right here because this is very comparable with my Kelly Gold on Gold in size 35. If you look at this, this is way more functional, and this one's only $110. So I don't know. Dupes on dupes on dupes, and then everybody's talking about how Capucine from Atelier Auguste is a dupe. Again, much more functional than the Kelly 35. But again, I am mesmerized by the Kelly or Hermes in general because of the heritage, because of the story, and just, it's a holy grail. There's nothing to replace it. So I wouldn't really say that this one is a dupe of the Kelly. I would say this one is a luxury alternative. And I could just keep going talking about dupes and luxury alternatives, but I already did a video on it. So again, go check that out. I will link it up below, above for you as well as below. But the Celine Romy, the Barakami is just a much more functional bag because the strap is adjustable. Talking about the Rowe Margot, I talked about how the W Concept one is a great dupe at, you know, $170, $180 compared to the $4,500 that the Rowe Margot is at. I will say there are dupes that I have considered a fail with the Hermes Arsan bag. I did get the Bob Ore bag, but it was a complete like inspired one, but it kind of was a fail in my opinion, just because the Bob Ore logo is not something people like, and I personally didn't like that as well. The other one is the Savet Picotin. I no longer have this in my collection. If you look at the front, it is so similar except the bigger version, but I ended up letting that go just because it didn't, the straps weren't long enough, so it didn't really work for my lifestyle when it comes to a work tote, which I found my Celine to replace it, the Cabas tote. So again, I'm kind of rambling here. I hope I give you a little bit of perspective on luxury alternatives versus dupes, and then of course the conversation of the almost bag. If you love the bag, just buy it. If it's within your budget, if you're wishy-washy about it, don't buy it. If you are just like, that bag is living rent-free in my head, just buy the bag. I'm such an instigator, I know, but if you don't like it, hopefully you find a good deal, and if you follow my tips and tricks from how I save money and purchase luxury smartly, then hopefully you won't lose that much money if you purchase the bag and realize that you don't like it. But if you are a true luxury lover, so to speak, you're gonna figure it out. like life, right? And I'm like that grandma. You'll figure it out. Everything will work out. But the more you learn, the more bags you purchase, the more bags you let go of. And if that's not something everybody wants to do, if they like the bag, they're just gonna buy the bag and they don't want to churn and burn, so to speak. But that's kind of the joy of the handbag community or having a collection, is the churning and burning, right? You can discover new styles, you discover new leathers or functionality as a bag. You just start geeking out at the little details of every bag. And I can say I'm not the only one when it comes to handbags. Other people out there are entire YouTube channels on watches. My boyfriend would show me his watch collection. I'm just like, they all look the same to me. But he's just like getting into the intricacy of every watch. He's like, you see the dial's different, the hands are different, the little knob is different. I'm just like, dude, I don't see a difference. So I really hope you enjoy that conversation. Let me know what your comments or your thoughts are down below. What do you think about dupes versus luxury alternatives? Do you buy the bag? Do you hesitate? Do you buy dupes before you actually buy the bag? What is your experience in this whole entire buy, sell, dupes versus non-dupes? So life is hard. I want to help you save time and money so that you can somehow adult easier and hopefully less than retail. I'll see you all next time.